Hey, welcome to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans. Thanks for joining us. We've got a really good show for you. I know I say that all the time, but we really do. Hey, we're getting right into the summer driving season, and no surprise, they say gas could hit 425. Could hit 425. Well, think of it this way. That's 3 times as much as the Houston Astros will hit this summer. So, we go with that. There's still controversy right now about that alleged use of horse meat in restaurants over in Europe. And now there are rumors that that might be the case here. I don't know. I'll play it safe. My advice is, if you go to a restaurant now, stay away from the Belmont steaks. Whatever you do. Wait. Got to ask him. What are we doing next? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. What's that? What's that, Greg? I'm talking to the director. We don't have a director? Who's this? Am I hearing voices?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains it. How about this news? Youngstown, the Youngstown area, is the number 4 choice for baby boomers to retire, according to a recent study. The number 4 choice in the country. Well, that's good, and I know we have positives here, but I think for most people here, when they come to choosing where they will retire, it's either at the Goodyear or Firestone store, or something like that. So. NASA space scientists, and I guess they would be space, huh? They're concerned about the Kepler Space Telescope. And it's broken, and they're having a hard time getting it fixed. And I guess their concern is this could jeopardize finding other worlds from our own. Well, what the heck? They could discover that just probably going to Gary Busey's house. That's enough right there. Hey, it's Loose Change. We've got Bob Hannon. Stick around. He's coming right up. We'll be right back, and I'm going to go find out where that voice is coming from.
What does 6 mean to you? 6 strings, 6 points, 6 pack, a 6 day, half a dozen? V6, 6 speed, 6 barrel, 6 second. Season 6 of Street Scene. Hi, I'm Rick Guerrera, host of Armstrong's Street Scene. Back to show off your ride, built and driven by local car and bike enthusiasts from around the Mahoning Valley. Watch for new Street Scene episodes all season long. Exclusively brought to you by Armstrong Channel 2100.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans, and I'm joined by a guy with a familiar face and voice, of course, Bob Hannon, the radio play-by-play voice of the YSU football team on Clear Channel, former TV 33 sports director, and now the head of the local chapter of the United Way. So, man, you've been all over the place. And a lot of folks that know you, Bob, know you're from Western PA. What we'd like to do with the show is give a little background to start off, where you're from and what you did athletically, of course, and how you got into broadcasting and how that path on
Well, Jim, like a lot of us, you just grew up playing sports in Newcastle. I had 3 older brothers, and we played sports, played basketball mostly, some baseball. Go to college at Slippery Rock, and you get to a point in your life where you know you're not going to have a career playing sports, so you want to do something. So got my degree in communications. While I was in college, I worked at a radio station where my boss was a guy named Steve Meckling, WKST in Newcastle. Steve went on to be the sports director of Channel 21. Right. So Steve and I formed a relationship. He had hired me. I worked for him for a while. I was doing a sports talk show every night when I was like 20 years old while going to college, which was a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because radio, and especially when you do talk, gives you an opportunity to learn your skills in terms of ad-libbing. So once I got out of school, I moved to New Jersey. I worked there for 4 years doing radio. And I stayed in contact with Steve quite a bit, Meckling. 1987, he said, there's an opening at the ABC station. You might want to give him a call, Channel 33. Called the news director, went in for an interview, and that's how I got the job.
There you go. And I did the same thing, starting in radio first before TV. And I often tell people that are aspiring to get into the business, radio's a good way to start and make that transition then into television. It really helps.
Jim, I've always thought the best TV people were people that started in radio.
Yeah,
You know, radio sometimes it's you need to learn when to ad lib, which I think is important in TV,
especially sports.
Right, exactly. And if you're going to do play-by-play, it's really a 3-hour ad lib because the script is as the game plays out. And even in television, we have teleprompters, but the prompter goes down. And how many times do you get back late on a night when you can't write out your highlights? You just have to wing it. And I like to wing it anyway, okay, which is hard for a director to follow sometimes, or a producer. So radio background on a lot of fronts. So I even did some DJ. My first job was an all-night DJ.
I did as well.
Okay, I did news.
And that's good experience too.
Oh, it's really good experience. It's fun. It's a good time. And I would have taken any job just to get my foot in the door. So I was working midnight to 6 on weekends. That's when the DJs were live. We were live 24 hours but we did a lot of sports. I worked at WKST in Newcastle. We did Newcastle football, Tri-County football, sports talk. So it was an AM station that gave me a chance to learn the business, but also try to, hone in on whatever skills I might have.
Didn't make any money, but had a lot of fun.
We made no money at all, but we had a great time.
Yep.
And the stories that you develop and the people you meet, and some we talked about before we went on air, you'll be friends for a lifetime, friendship for a lifetime.
Talking about winging it, that's what we're doing here. What did you like about doing TV, sports?
I think what I liked most about the TV is that, one, it's live. I like live. I didn't like, tape segments and things like that. And in high school football, Friday night high school football, I thought was the best. It was total organized chaos. You come back on a Friday night.
This is true.
Yeah. You'd have 16 games that you need to edit, or 12 games. We have no idea how we're going to get this all done. I have 2 or 3 interns looking at highlights and writing names down, hoping that they get everything right. So by the time you get on, if you really have a good show when you're done, it's such an adrenaline high. And it feels so good to pull it all together, because that's the night most people are watching. When I say about getting names right, Jim, we put a lot of emphasis on that, because that one young boy or girl
means so much.
That might be their 15 seconds of fame.
That's right.
And if it's Johnny Smith and you call him Jerry Lewis, you ruined it, because their mom, their grandma, their aunts are watching. So I like that. I also like putting together human interest stories. More than just scores and highlights. I think we need to be more than that. Anytime you can go out, we really like doing Student Athlete of the Week, which we focused a lot on the student, not just the athlete. Then at the end of the year, we had a big banquet. We picked a Student Athlete of the Year. So and another thing that I liked a lot, Jim, I remember one of the first great athletes I covered was Nick Cochran. Now, I saw Nick go from a high school athlete to a quarterback at YSU to a coach at Girard, now the father of 3 daughters. So I've seen him from a young boy to a grown man. So following many of their careers as these people have moved on has been a lot of fun as well.
And that's one of the nice things about doing sports, because you can do feature type things, about individuals.
And it's sort of the play area of the newsroom. You know what I mean?
Correct.
The news sometimes can be depressing. But in sports, you can have
a lot of
fun with it, as you know. And you were really good at having fun with it and putting the humor into it. So we like that part of it as well. And I was lucky. I was there 20 years. I only had 2 assistants.
I know.
Steve Fortunato, Bill Castrovince. Both were hard workers, dedicated, loyal. Usually that weekend guy can't get the weekdays. They leave. They move on, and you keep grinding out weekend guys. You guys had a similar situation.
Yes,
It was
we
you
did.
and Jim Campbell. You had a lot of continuity. People like continuity too. If they don't like it, then you're in trouble. But they like the familiar face. I always thought that was part of Tom Holland's success. He was familiar, he was comfortable. So I was lucky. I had 2 great weekend assistants that worked hard, and we had a good rapport. We had a good relationship.
Is there a particular moment or something you did in TV that still stands out of your mind, and like this was really the best that it got for me there?
Couple things in TV side of it, going into Ohio State's national championship game against Miami in Florida. We went down, and Jim Tressel, we went down with Jim Bowser, photographer, on Christmas Eve, spent about 2 hours at his house. We did an interview, we did an hour special leading up to the national championship, and you just sort of felt, maybe they can do this, although everybody thought they were going to get beat. We did an hour special, and I thought our coverage from the championship game was really good. And obviously, we were able to get some insight. You don't get a one-on-one that often with a coach playing in the national championship game. So that we enjoyed doing that. From an overall perspective, YSU winning their first national championship. Because we knew they were good, but how good? And 91 season, the first playoff game, a miraculous win over Villanova. A great catch by Herb Williams, and then Jeff Wilkins kicks the field goal. So the entire run in the 90s of YSU winning national championships just became expected. They're going to play for a title every year. Well, as we learned the last decade or so, that's not going to happen all the time.
I tell this to a lot of people. We're really fortunate here in terms of sports. Not only by what we have here locally, but we are right in the middle of two major markets, professional sports cities, less than an hour drive from to Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So for fans and certainly us covering this in the media, this is such a unique situation here. There can't be many other markets like this in the country.
Jim, you talk about things that always stand out to you. I remember covering Steelers-Browns games, more so in Cleveland, and the physical altercations in the stands were much greater than what...
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Especially at Cleveland Brown Stadium.
Yeah.
Because the stadium was so big, so many Steeler fans would get in. And you'd see some crazy stuff going on. And I think from a pro standpoint, that was the most fun, covering Brown-Steeler games.
Yeah.
The bitter rivalry, the intensity. And they were both pretty good then. That was early on in my time at 33. That was Bernie Kosar's era.
Right.
And Pittsburgh was pretty good then, too. Cleveland was a little better, had the upper hand. But covering Kosar was fun, too, being that he was a local guy and had a chance to, sort of, build somewhat of a relationship with Bernie as well.
We talked about, being fortunate to be in that situation. And I know... you mentioned him earlier, and you were very fortunate to forge a relationship with Bill Castrovence, and I was fortunate enough to become friends with Bill as well, work with him briefly. And many folks might know his story that after leaving TV locally here, he went up to Twinsburg, and then had a big challenge with cancer, but he's doing fantastic. I saw him back in March at the basketball championships, and he looks great, and I know that has to mean a lot to you.
I talk to him probably once a week. Bill left, went to Sports Time Ohio in Cleveland, called me a little over a year ago and said something wasn't right.
Right.
He was going out covering events, would forget where he was going. It'd be like going from our station to Poland High School. You do it a million times. How do you forget where to go? Then he called me one night and said, I'm in the Cleveland hospital. I'm going to have brain surgery later this week. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I was brought in, and it was very serious, very serious. Once they got in there, and it was brain surgery, it was much more intense and really a desperate situation. But he's made it over a year. He's cancer-free. Last August, at age 40, and he's probably smart, didn't get married till he was 40, I was at his wedding. It was awesome. During the vows, he got a little confused, and his wife.
So did I.
Yeah, his wife Carol was like, "If you were this nervous, she had fun with it." But he's doing well. Still struggles a little bit with some short-term memory loss. Because I'll talk to him on the phone, and every once in a while he'll go off and we used to have the greatest debate. He's a huge Eli Manning fan, and I'm a big Ben Roethlisberger fan. Who's better? And we go back and forth, and even he'll be right on point, and then he'll lose it for a minute. But overall, he's doing great. And for the expectations for that surgery. I think part of why he's making it, Bill has the best attitude.
Sure did.
Bill's positive, upbeat, and I think that certainly helps beat something like this.
I know what else is important to you, obviously, are your kids. And you have to be proud of what they've achieved. And Craig, of course, I've gotten to know him a little bit, standout basketball player, and now head basketball coach at Girard. Talk about that.
Well, the great thing with Craig, I think, is that Craig was, a 10th grader, skinny, could shoot the basketball, and I said, Craig, you're going to really have to work because you can't really jump. You're not 6'6". You got to really learn how to stroke it. And he was relentless and became a great shooter. As a junior, his team went to the state finals, lived in PA. Then he went to Westminster. Thought he would have a good career. Ended up being their all-time leading scorer. He never saw a shot he didn't like either. So
that's all right. Shooters got to shoot.
That's right. So then he started coaching at Neshannock as an assistant. 1 year, 9th grade at Poland, his team went undefeated. And then the Girard job came, and I didn't think he was ready at 26 to be a head coach, but I told him, you need to start interviewing to learn what the process is like. So he goes for Girard. Next thing you know, he's a finalist. He gets the job. I knew that he understood basketball, but was he mature enough to handle 17 and 18-year-olds and lead them and coach them? And that was my worry. But he got the job. He also got a full-time teaching job in special ed. And I thought he did a great job the first year. They won a lot of games. But most of all, I thought he handled the kids well, treated them the way they should be treated. And I think he's on his way to having a really good coaching career. Loves the game.
What has he told you might be the biggest challenges for him as the head coach now?
Especially going in at 26 and being the head coach and dealing with parents. Overall, they're great, but we're not objective when it comes to our kids. We all think they should get more playing time. We all think they should be the star. So, especially being young, some of the parents challenged him. And they would want to come into the gym and watch practice. And Craig says, no, practice is closed. So he had to set certain rules and put the program in place. But parents can be tough, and I'm one, and my kids play sports, so I know it's very difficult to try to look at your children objectively, but I think that's a very big challenge. And also today, Jim, they're doing so many different things. Not just sports. They're involved in so many different activities. You know, how long can you get them in the gym, and how committed are they? And so I think he's trying to figure all that out.
Your daughter give you some golf lessons too.
Yeah,
right?
she's pretty good. She's a junior now at Poland, be heading into her senior season. So she's working relentlessly because she knows this is her last year, and she's going to get a scholarship and play somewhere. So she's really chipping. She's smart. I go to the driving range. I pound the driver, not very well. She chips and putts, chips and
There you
putts.
are.
And you know, it's the short game. If you can't play 100 yards and in,
That's right.
but I don't care. I want to hit the driver. I'm going to keep pulling out the big club.
We're all like that, so that's the natural thing. Bob Hannon, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of Bob and more of Loose Change. Stick with us.